To the OGs, I'm thanking you now. I was watching you when you were paving the ground. I studied your cadence, I mirrored your style. I studied the greats, I'm the greatest right now. These are the words of J. Cole in a song called Middle Child. And in his song, he's basically paying homage to the people that came before him in the same craft that he is. And he realized one important fact, and I think when you listen to this song, there's some wonderful jewels in it, is that you have to recognize that anything that you do, the best way to be successful at that thing, or to be great at that thing, let's just not just be successful, let's not just be good, let's be great, strive to be great, is to know the history. To study the people that came before you, the steps that they have taken, mistakes that they made. Yes, the mistakes, because you learn more from people's mistakes than you actually do from their victories. And if you go down to the line of history of people that maybe you look up to, that you admire, you'll find that they all have one thing in common. The greats know the history. They just do. They're in constant study. And I'll say over and over again that we have to be in constant study. Because in order to achieve and excel at anything, there's something that somebody else may have done, or a path that they have walked, that you can pick up from there and continue on. There's no need to pay a check that's already been paid. You see, you learn more from other people than you can from yourself, because you don't have to take those years that it took them to do it. You know, so some lessons, they take 10 years. There's some things that time can only teach you. But you have the advantage because you can learn from them in a short amount of time. Lessons that took them maybe 10, 15, 20 years to learn. And it's easier, more easy than ever before, because all you have to do is say, okay, Google, yo, Siri, give me a hand with this, and they'll take you right to the information. Now, if you doubt what I'm saying, I'm just drop a few people. And you'll know what I'm saying, because if you watch them in interviews, or if you see them, or you even get the chance to talk to them, they're very proficient in the history of whatever their craft is. First on the list, Dougie Fresh. Dougie's one of the most curious people that I've known, and I've known him quite some time. But if you ever go to a show, and anybody that's in hip-hop, or even some of the R&B artists will tell you, Dougie will stay there and watch every single artist and pick every show apart. And he could tell you the history and the performance of every artist that came before him. Because he's watching, he's studying, he's looking at the crowd reaction to certain things that people do. And anybody that will tell you, every time that you see Dougie Fresh, there's something a little more. Now, there's a lot of artists you'll see over and over again, and you can actually do the show with them. But with Dougie, you never know what you'll get. I've actually been to a show with Dougie, and he did not perform one record, and the kids had a great time. They became the performers. And that's because of years of studying what audience, crowd reactions, what dance to do, when to do it, or something as simple as stare out into the audience and wait a minute before you take your shades off. Yes, Kumo D always jokes, Dougie, oh, here comes Michael Jackson. You know, because he's a constant study. He watches everyone. And he could actually tell you probably how to improve your shows. Now, Mike Tyson. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to even talk with Mike Tyson or really sit down and listen to his interviews. Mike has an encyclopedic knowledge of boxing. There's no reason, there's no doubt why he was the greatest in his prime. Because every fight, he would study fight films just like he would get up and run. And, you know, he could tell you the history of what made this guy strong, what made this guy weak. But that was when he was in his prime and he was focused on his craft. But now he still knows the history. You could drop a name probably you think no one else would know in boxing, and he would actually know the record and could tell you why he lost this fight, what he did. In his prime. LL Cool J. I can go on forever. Jay-Z. Let's talk about Jay-Z. Now, if you doubt what I'm saying when it comes to Jay-Z, all you have to do is listen to his records. How many times have you heard lyrics from other artists on Jay-Z's records? Which lets you know that he probably knows every hip-hop song that was ever made. He probably even knows My Horrible Record, which I try to forget. And he will insert those lines in it because he studies. It's always a study. So this is paramount. If you get nothing else from me, you have to understand that whatever you do, one of the greatest things that will make you head and shoulders above all the rest is to study the people that came before you now. The greatest crime that happens is when each generation starts to distance themselves from the other generation. Well, I don't want to talk to this guy, or oh, you old school. And the other biggest problem is when the old school, the elders, shun the young ones who comes with, looking for information, who actually may admire who you are. Now, this is very prominent in hip-hop, but hip-hop is life, as I told you. In this hip-hop generation, we're living that life. Study is paramount. Now, J. Cole talks about, he was basically, the reason that the song is called Middle Child is because he's caught in between two worlds. He says, I'm dead in the middle of two generations. I'm a little brother and a big brother at once. Just left the lab with young 21 Savage, about to go and meet Jigga for lunch. Now, that's interesting because we actually are caught between two worlds. And those two worlds are what was and what will be. The only place that you can affect change is where we all live, what is. But the thing is, what was and what will be influences the present, which is what is. And that's where you can make change. See, most people spend a lot of time dwelling on the past. It's like driving a car, but looking out the rearview mirror. You're going to crash. You kind of got to exist between these two worlds because there's definitely information in what was. There's a history. There's lessons, life lessons that you can be learned, even from your own mistakes. And they will help you to formulate what will be. But being in what is, where most of us live, you have to always, always be mindful that in the present is where you make those adjustments. And those adjustments that you make in the present will affect what will be. But never disconnect yourself from the history. Now, a lot of people may not know I work with Quincy Jones, and I made a substantial amount of money working with him. With my label, I was one of the first guys to have a label with him. But the biggest thing, the biggest payoff for me was being with Quincy and listening to him talk about the history of music, the history of people, politics, emotions. And he knows everyone. And so the greatest lesson for me was taking in all of that, meeting mate Ray Charles in the studio with him and Ella and, just everybody. It was like a finishing school. And he had an opinion about everything. As a matter of fact, Quincy was the reason that I fell in love with the self-help industry, because the first book that I ever got in that Quincy gave to me, and it was a book called The Road Less Traveled. And Quincy gave it to me when we first started working together, and he said, this book changed my life. And yeah, it changed mine as well. It put me on a path to really start consuming everything that I can. It's like a beast to help formulate a better me. And with that, of course, that leads you to studying everything. Like Tony Robbins. If you listen to Tony Robbins, he's the greatest at the top of this self-help industry. But Tony pulls from everybody. And because I started really immersing myself into the Jim Rohns and the Wayne Dyers, and all Bob Proctor and all these guys, it's like I can listen when he speaks and I know where he pulled that from. Oh, that's Napoleon Hill. Or, or Jim Rohn told a similar story because people just kind of change the information around because most of it draws from the same source as in your spirituality. We all kind of draw from that same source. So whatever you do, I want you to focus on the study of that craft. Don't just be good, be great. And how you be great? You study the greats. I study the greats and I'm the greatest right now. Love that line. Very profound. Very, very, very profound. So in this time where you have to be home and do a lot of things on your own, like me, I'm trying to learn how to be a barber. Yeah, that's why my hair got like this. I kind of messed up the fade. But it's a great time to study. Don't just veg out on just mindless entertainment. Do some studying. And most importantly, study yourself. Make those adjustments. And I promise you, as you start to devour all this information, the universe will return that in kind. Because she knows exactly what you want to do. So with that, I'm going to bid my adieu. Once again, I am LaVeva Mallison, and this is Spit Talk. You have a wonderful, super amazing day. And remember, what can you do? Anything. Who's better than you? Nobody.
To focus on my mission in the kitchen, no distractions. So anything I want, I go get it. It's always